People will invalidate you in a multitude of different ways, right? When it comes to relationships. And so over time, what tends to happen is we develop lack of an ability to share our emotions. Especially as a male, sometimes being more on the emotional spectrum is not accepted in our reality. Men are supposed to be strong. For women, it's more accepted, I believe. However, in a romantic relationship dynamic, I think men find it hard to interpret a woman's emotions in a heterosexual relationship. And I feel in a heterosexual relationship as well that when a man does express his emotions, the woman doesn't quite accept it, because it's like, not that it's soft or like weak or whatever it is, it's like the guy doesn't have the same way of expressing emotion. Nobody wants to feel invalidated. Nobody wants to feel insignificant. Nobody wants to share emotions and have it backfire. Nobody necessarily wants to experience confrontation. And so it's something that a lot of people avoid when it comes to expressing your emotions, especially as an empath. I think everyone is wanting to be understood, and whether that's in an argument or in a conversation, or there's a problem or challenge someone's going through, something that you're going through, people just want to be understood. And sometimes people want a solution to something that they're expressing. And so what I find in my experience when it comes to having a conversation with someone, or even in a debate or even an argument, even a heated argument, what tends to happen is people are expressing their emotion, and the other person who you're expressing to is listening to respond. Okay, they're listening to respond. Now, this is not a healthy way to have a conversation. You don't want to be listening to respond and reply. Okay, you want to be listening to understand. Okay, it's a totally different level there. When you listen to understand, you are stepping into that person's shoes and you're trying to kind of understand them, right? You're trying to understand what it is like for them. You're understanding what they are feeling, right? You're understanding what they can be going through. And I think many empaths understand this because they absorb people's energy and emotions anyway. So I just wanted to add this short clip here. And that is, when you're listening to someone, you're listening to understand, or someone's listening to you and they're listening to understand, they're not only stepping into your shoes, they're stepping into your shoes and accepting the way that you feel, right? And validating your emotions. It's like they're not trying to push it away. They're not trying to say stupid or irrational or whatever it is. They're listening to the degree where they understand that what you feel is totally valid and it's okay for you to feel that way. And then from there, that's when the conversation can move forward. When you are emotional or your emotions are heated and you're having a discussion, a debate, an argument, or whatever it is, you kind of lose that logic for listening to understand, because this sense of competition comes into play where you want to win the argument, you want to win the conversation, you want to win the dialogue that's going on. You want to win. And this competition thing, especially in a romantic relationship, can destroy it, in a big way. So when it comes to expressing your emotions freely, we want to be careful with that. There is a delicate balance between the person that you're speaking with and their emotional intelligence versus your emotional intelligence. So for example, if you say something that you're feeling and it now offends the other person's going to take it as an attack, and that attack is going to be combative back to you, right? Because now that person feels hurt. Hurt people hurt people. So with communication, there's actually a really good book called Non-Violent Communication, where you're able to express emotion, you're able to communicate with someone without it being violent to them, okay? Non-violent communication is where you express it in a way where you are not triggering the other person, so that you get understanding and so that they respond from understanding rather than listening to respond. So a little tip from that book is to basically agree and understand when that person is speaking. So let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you didn't like my videos, or you didn't like something that I said in my videos, or whatever it is. You wouldn't just come out and say, hey, Gavin, like, I hated this part, I disliked this part, whatever, right? What you would do is you would express gratitude for my previous content and the things that you did like about me, or what you did like about the video. So basically, if you're writing a paragraph, what you would initially say is something positive, so that I know that you're not coming from bad intention, but you're coming from feedback. Maybe you're coming from constructive criticism, or maybe you're coming through something positive. And so what you want to do is you want to say, hey Gavin, I really liked this video. Here's what I liked about it. It was really good. I really appreciate it. However, I didn't agree with this particular section. You don't want to use the word but, by the way. Okay, you say but negates everything from that you said before. And so you want to use the word like however. Or there was a part that I didn't like about this video. It didn't agree with me, it didn't resonate with me, or whatever it is. And here's what I feel you could have done better. Okay, so you're not only saying what's wrong, okay, you're saying what you could have done better. So the first step is appreciation. The second step is expressing the problem. And the third step is explaining how they could have done it better. Now, in the moment, I can tell you, when you're in a confrontation, when you're in an argument, or when you're talking to someone, or when you're trying to express emotion, in that moment, it's a lot harder to do this, all right? Because again, there's emotion. Emotions are very, very powerful, and they sometimes take over your logic, okay? And sometimes your mind just goes blank. It's like when you're going on stage to speak, right? And you've practiced this script over and over and over and over again. You've practiced this speech over and over again, but the nervousness has taken over your logic, has taken over your memory. You move into the fight or flight system, and so your mind goes blank. And so we need to understand this, that success is a relaxed state, and it's important to train ourselves to be calm and relaxed about expressing our emotions. That is totally normal to do that. And so when it comes to expressing your emotions freely, I think most people are, again, trying to be understood. And so there's no point in speaking or communicating something with someone if you feel like they're not going to understand you, or in the past you've had a history of them not understanding you and not getting anywhere with it, and it's combative and it's back and forth, and you know, it's just this constant cycle. You know, maybe this person's very toxic, or maybe they're narcissistic, or they've got narcissistic traits where they feel like they're never in the wrong, right? Nothing's wrong with them, and the problem is you, and then they gaslight you and make you feel bad about your emotions. And sometimes, for me personally, I will feel upset about something, or I'll have some negative feelings towards something that happened. And what I'll do is I'll go for a walk, and sometimes I'll just write down, or even just on my notes on my phone, and I'll type it up, what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, because I don't want to project my anger or my rage or my upsetness and my sadness onto someone. I want to deal with my emotions personally for myself. And as I've dealt with them and I've written them out and I've calmed down, then I'm able to communicate it more effectively, rather than sort of jumping into what I'm feeling right now and expressing it from that particular emotion. I know that if I do that, especially in a romantic relationship, it can hurt the image of what that person has for me. For example, like everyone has, an image of who their partner is and what they are like. All right. And sometimes you can destroy that image. For example, if a partner cheats on you, then you're going to have a new image of them in your mind, right? A new image. It might not be an actual image, but the way that you perceive them has changed because they have cheated. They've created adultery, a behavior that you don't agree with, because they committed to a monogamy and they've sort of broke the contract, or they've broke their word. All right. And that in itself creates this image of who you view them as now. Okay. And so now there's resentment coming from your side. There's sadness, there's anger, there's upset coming from your side. And so in arguments and discussions with people, when it comes to expressing emotions, this can also happen too. You may say things that you don't mean. You may say things that you wouldn't have said usually in your everyday, but you've now affected and infected that person with your poison. Okay, you haven't dealt with your poison because you just randomly blurted it out, you expressed it, and now you've hurt that person, and now they have resentment and whatever it is towards you. You've destroyed their image, and in that person that would require healing. Okay, they're not going to overcome that just overnight. All right, and so you got to be careful what you say to people, and that's why I always take the time to when I'm angry or I'm upset about something, usually most of the time I don't express it right then and there, but you want to be careful not to take too long to express those emotions as well. Okay, you want to go ahead and deal with it. Maybe write it down. Writing it down makes such a difference. Write it down, type it up, whatever it is, what you're feeling, what you would like to say to this person, whatever it is, and you'll see that the anger or whatever emotion it is will be let go of completely. And once you let it go, now you're able to have a conversation with that person from a more logical standpoint and not in a violent communication. You'll be able to communicate in a more non-violent communication where they're able to hear what you're saying, understanding what you're saying without taking any offense, without triggering them and things like this. Sometimes we feel like you're holding on to something and something should be said, where like, okay, this thing that I'm holding on to that happened to me years ago, and I want to express it to my dad or my mother or whatever it is that happened. Sometimes just writing it out in a letter, and you don't even have to send it to them, you just write out in a letter, actually releases these particular emotions and it frees you of them. I'm sure you don't want to hurt the other person when it comes to communicating whatever you need to communicate. And that's the challenge in expressing your emotions freely. And I'm sure when you're communicating something, it's coming from a genuine place, and you just want to sort of share something, and you just kind of don't want the other person to take any offense at all. And you wish they could just listen to me, just understand. But unfortunately, people have weak egos. People are not able to hold space for you to express yourself. But again, operating out of anger is not the best way to do it, right? And so we must understand that words are spells, and that's why they call it spelling, right? And so you don't want to put spells or curses onto other people through your words, okay? Overall, emotions can be really challenging to deal with, and I totally understand. And it's something that we all need to learn how to process better and learn to deal with better. And I don't know if you're going through this right now. Maybe there's some emotion or resentment towards a parent or a relationship, or you're in a relationship and they're not listening and you want them to listen better, or maybe you're not listening as much, or maybe there's a divorce going on and you need to deal with that, or breakup, or whatever it is, right? We all go through these challenges, and one of the most important things that you can do in these moments is to take action and do something about it. So I'm here to support you if you need me, okay? So there's a link in the description where you can get a free energy reading and a manifestation diagnosis session to dive deeper into what you're experiencing in your life right now, what steps you need to take moving forward, some energy stuff, so you're dealing with the spiritual side of things, so you can literally align your energy to finding the solution to your problem. All of the information will be in the description at whatsappgavin.com, or you can add my telephone number and we can start the process in overcoming this challenge in your life. Check out this video if you want to learn how to heal your heart. Check out this video to check out my unlisted Raise Your Vibration playlist. Very, very powerful stuff. And remember to keep learning, keep growing, keep expanding, and I'll speak to you soon. Peace.